Hi everyone, welcome to Side Talks. Today we're here to talk about the FETI axis, and a simple way to put it is social truths. And so the types that use this are the FJ types and the TP types. And so the FJs are the ISFJ, INFJ, ENFJ, ESFJ, and the TPs are the ISTP, INTP, ENTP, and ESTP types. And so Kyle, would you like to start us off?
Sure. So it's nice to start off with the definitions and putting in context. So we're dealing with two decision-making functions, TI and FE. And so introverted thinking is very specifically making decisions based on the question, does this make sense to me? And so what it does as it's operating, it is taking a look at all of the facts that it knows about this situation and then seeing do these facts support a conclusion? Does this logically make sense? Can we make this decision and have it make sense? Does it fit the data? On the flip side, extroverted feeling is taking a look at the groups that are being affected. Depending on what kind of perceiving function it's tied to, it can look, how is this going to affect the vibe of the room? How is this going to affect the sustainability of the group? So it's always that group focus. How is it impacting that? And so there's kind of an emotional element there too, but it's not necessarily just emotional, but it is tied to how the group is going to do. Are we all going to win? How can we all compromise a little bit so that we all benefit? And so it's kind of looking at something that's totally foreign to TI. But when you combine them together, as we mentioned earlier, it's all about social truth. So does this truth help the group? Or how can I deliver this truth in a way that people receive it? Because there's a tendency for these two functions together to care a lot about how people think and how people feel about things, how people think and feel. It's a little bit different than the other decision-making polarity, which is we call ethical action. That one is all about kind of like, can we do the right thing? Introverted thinking and extroverted feeling together might want to do the right thing, but the goal is so that we can all believe and feel the right things, or do even consensus together when they're kind of pushed together. That whole consensus idea is very attractive because then, if we all believe the right thing, then we'll be happy. Or if we all say the right things, then we can get along and avoid that conflict. So it's just a different flavor as to the underlying motivation. So which one is the most motivating to the group?
And so sometimes extroverted feeling, its goal is to make sure the emotional equilibrium is being taken care of. And so that people's baseline vibes are at a certain good level. And so extroverted feeling is trying to manage emotions to get the group or the ecosystem around them to feel good or feel okay or feel where they should be.
Yeah,
And
and it can look really similar to extroverted thinking because they're trying to manage outcomes, and some of those outcomes could be emotional too, but not necessarily. So it's kind of the underlying question, like if the underlying question is just, does this work for whatever my goal is? That's more extroverted thinking. If the underlying question is, does this satisfy the needs of the group? Or does this create that emotional equilibrium is a good word for it. Like if that's more the ultimate reason, then you're looking at the extroverted feeling side, but it can be tricky.
yeah, because they're both group focused. And when you lead with FE in the ENFJ or ESFJ, you may feel like you can speak on behalf of the group. It's like the group needs this. And so with extroverted feeling, you want to make sure that the actions done in the group support the emotions of the people around you, or like that they are conducive to a good emotional environment, a good emotional climate. So you kind of notice if actions land well on others or if actions create emotional upset with the general environment. And so there's this monitoring of the emotional temperature to make sure that the actions around you and also your own actions are supporting the overall harmony and well-being of those around you. And so
Yeah. And one thing to note there too, it's not so much, it's the perceiving functions is what's getting that data. It's what you do with it is where the judging functions come in. So extroverted feeling isn't on its own, isn't collecting that emotional data. That's either extroverted sensing and introverted intuition, or introverted sensing and extroverted intuition. Like, okay, if it's matched with one polarity, it's very keenly aware on what the trends are. You can look at the other videos on that. So that'll color it. So just because you are always paying attention to, or you're noticing the group vibe, doesn't mean you're using extroverted feeling. It's what you do with that emotional vibe or what with that data that determines what your judging functions are.
that is very true. And so your judging functions are how you make decisions, how you decide on the information given to you. So it's not collecting the information itself, but it does, like, FE prioritizes the emotional reactions around you in a group way, or factoring in the gist of reactions around you. And it uses that to make decisions. FE at its best creates an environment in which people can share their truths. It creates a psychologically safe environment for truth sharing to be possible. And at its worst, can sometimes ostracize the person who is giving the unpopular opinion in the group because it's upsetting the group. And so there's two extremes. One can leave a lot of space for TI truths to become available to be said, and the other can want to exile people who are disrupting the group climate and to single them out and to push them out.
Yeah, and with introverted thinking, when you have that as the driver of the car, using personality hackers metaphor, or higher up, it can often not really know what to do with other people's feedback. It just really, like, why can't we all be logical and let's just take things honestly? And it can struggle when you can't say things because it's going to upset the group. It's like, well, it doesn't upset me. This is just the truth. Like, it's just looking at that kind of objective reality that we can agree on so that we can make decisions. And so it, the extroverted feeling function is specifically what we leverage when we're dealing with the group, when we're speaking to a group, when we're trying to convince them of something. And so that's why TI DOMs can often have issues with a whole group setting because they want to just deliver these truths, and it's not always comfortable. Once you get the TI and FE into the more conscious back and forth parts of the second and third functions, then they work together a little bit more. So it starts being able to know how to massage the truth, like not lie, but massage it in a way that it's palatable to the group because it cares about the reactions. It's not caring just about the truth so much. So when the TI and FE are together on that second and third function part of the stack, then we're looking at people who are a little bit more able to balance the truth with delivering it in a way that's palatable to everybody, and maybe not saying everything or as directly, kind of being a little bit more political with it. But depending on where the TI is, the higher it is, the less diplomatic it tends to be, if it's fully allowing the TI to express itself, if that function is fully being expressed. The higher the extroverted feeling is, the less its own opinions matter and the more it's just keying in on everybody else's opinions. So it's really good at building consensus because it knows where people, using the perceiving functions, it can figure out how everybody in the group, kind of what their bottom line is, what their truths are, and if there's maybe ways of compromising that, it'll be a little bit easier to see. And then extroverted feeling as a driver can sometimes feel, though, that their own voice gets a little bit lost in it because they're so often just in the world of the group. And so both TI and FE drivers kind of want that other function, want the value of the other function too. They don't want to, like a TI DOM wants to be part of a group and wants to be valued and wants to help meet the needs of the group. It just does that in a very logical way. And FE wants to bring truth and wants to have their own truth, and kind of, a mind of my own kind of does matter. But it almost has to be calibrated through a group lens first in order to get there.
Absolutely. And so both sides have something to offer. With the TP types, they have these truths or these intellectually honest statements that they've made sense of independently from the group. And the higher up your FE is, the more you know how to work with group feedback. And so for the ETPs, it's easier to share truths in a digestible way than it is for the ITP types on a whole. Whereas the TI dominant types might feel a little bit of alienation or social rejection or an unawareness of how to say their opinion in a way where the group will take it well. And so there might be some sensitivity there where the ETP may know how to navigate more effortlessly. And for the FJ types, they're good at making sure that people's needs are being met in an emotional way, and so that people aren't unnecessarily upset, but they can upset things when necessary. But their primary focus is trying to consider the group harmony and if everyone is feeling good and what is upsetting the harmony if that is happening. And so there is this social climate awareness in their decision making, which propels them to make sure that everyone's needs are met and that the group is feeling okay, and that actions are leading to the betterment of their group rather than the worsening of their group. And so sometimes being in touch with their own opinion for FE dominant types can be a little bit harder, or figuring out what they think about something. They might need a little bit more permission to be in that space because it might make the group feel bad. They might know their own opinion, but they might be very mindful of when to say and when to not say it. So thanks everyone for watching. I hope this helped you learn a little bit more about the FETI axis. And a major thank you for Kyle and his brilliant brain. I'll have his website linked below. And so thanks everyone for watching. I'll see you all in the next episode. Take care.